Hi, Mystery Films Recapped here. Today I'm going to explain the 2006 dark fantasy movie called Pan's Labyrinth. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie starts in Spain, 1944, at the end of the Civil War, where armed men are fighting the new fascist regime. We then see a young girl lying on the floor, breathing heavily, with a bloody nose and hand. We learn about the underground realm, where the princess dreamt about the human world. One day, she fools her guards and escapes to come to the human realm. But when she reaches outside the underground realm, she loses her memory due to the bright sunlight and eventually dies. However, the hopeful king believes that his daughter's soul will return one day, but in a different body. The next scene introduces us to our protagonist, Ophelia, who is traveling to the country with her sick, pregnant mother. On the way, they stop in the middle of the road as the mother was not feeling well. There she finds a strange stone on the floor and picks it up. She comes across a strange statue in which she puts the stone back. Suddenly, a huge insect comes out from the stone's mouth, which Ophelia believes to be a fairy. Later, we come to know that they are traveling to meet the captain, who will be her stepfather soon. Looking at the captain's attitude and behavior towards Ophelia and her mother Carmen, we can already assume what kind of a man he is. Ophelia finds the insect again and follows it in the woods, where she comes across a strange gate. Mercedes, the housekeeper, stops her and tells her that it's a labyrinth. The captain's name is Vidal, who is seen to be preparing for an ambush. He asks Mercedes to bring him Dr. Ferrario, the personal doctor. The doctor gives Ophelia's mother sleep medicine and tells her to take it every day. Mercedes secretly gets a box of medicine from Dr. Ferrario, and Ophelia sees it. Later that night, Vidal's men captured a son and his father. The very scared duo tells him that they were just hunting rabbits, but they kill the son brutally and later shoot the father as well, just as expected from this guy. The insect goes to Ophelia's room and turns into a fairy in front of her. Now, who saw that coming? The fairy leads her to the labyrinth where she meets a fawn, who believes Ophelia is the reincarnation of the princess, whose name is revealed to be Moana. He says that the moon was the one who gave birth to her, and the mark on her shoulder is proof. The king, her real father, built this labyrinth worldwide to help her return to the underworld realm. But she needs to complete 3 tasks before the full moon. He hands her a book, the Book of Crossroads, and he asks her to open it only when she is alone. It will tell her about the future and the tasks. The next day, Ophelia opens the book in the bathroom, which reveals the first task. She tells Mercedes about her little adventure, who doesn't believe it, but she doesn't tell her that. When Vidal sees smoke coming out of the mountains, he declares it to be the rebels' nest and leaves to investigate with his men. The book tells Ophelia about a fig tree that was home to many magical creatures deep in the forest. In the tree's roots resides a monstrous toad that won't let it thrive. Ophelia needs to put 3 stones in the frog's mouth and retrieve the golden key from his belly, which will make the tree thrive again. She goes inside the tree and feeds the stones to the toad by using the insects and retrieves the key. Smart move, princess. Later that evening, when Mercedes goes to the woods to give a signal to the rebels, revealing her true intentions, she finds Ophelia there. Ophelia goes to the labyrinth to give the key. The fawn tells her to keep it as she will need it and gives her a piece of chalk too for her next task. The following day, Ophelia goes back to the bathroom to find out about the next task from the book, but the page turns red. Ophelia finds her mother covered with blood. Dr. Ferrario tells Vidal that Carmen needs to rest all the time and that Ophelia should be moved to a different room. Mercedes comforts Ophelia. She then tells Mercedes that she knows she is helping the enemy and she hasn't said anything to anyone, nor is she planning to. At night, Mercedes and Dr. Ferrario go to meet the rebel group, and we find out that it's her brother Pedro who is leading them. The fawn comes to Ophelia's room later that night to know why she didn't start the second task. She then tells him about her mother. He then gives Ophelia a mandrake root and tells her to put it under Carmen's head in a bowl of milk and every morning to give the root 2 drops of blood. After this, he hands over his pet fairies to help her out for the next task, as it's a dangerous one. The fawn then tells Ophelia that she will find a food feast when she gets there, but she should not eat or drink anything. Her life depends on it. Meanwhile, the doctor amputates Franchise's leg, as there is no way to cure it. In the next scene, the second task is revealed. The book tells her to draw a door using the chalk anywhere in her room, and when the doors open, she needs to start the hourglass. The fairies will guide her, and they give her the same warning as the fawn. She needs to be back before the last grain of sand falls. She goes in and sees a great tempting feast. At the end of the table, she finds a very scary-looking man sitting still. The man is a child-eating monster. The fairies guide her to a door, which she opens using the key and receives a dagger. Even after the warning, Ophelia eats 2 cherries. This awakens the monster. The fairies try to save her, but the 2 end up being eaten by the monster, which chases after her. Ophelia somehow escapes and saves herself. The next morning, Pedro tells the doctor that reinforcements will arrive soon, and after that he will attack Vidal. Mercedes gives Pedro the key to the supply storage room. Ophelia puts the mandrake root under her mother's bed and sees that it's improving her health. While she is under the bed, Ophelia overhears Vidal telling the doctor to choose the baby if the situation arises. The house is under attack, and everyone from the enemy side dies except one. He is taken captive and tortured. Later that night, the fawn visits Ophelia, who tells him that she had a little accident, but the fairy tells him everything. He is very furious and refuses to tell her about the last task. In the morning, Vidal tells Dr. Ferrario to treat the captive, and we get to see a gruesome sight. The captive requests the doctor to kill him, and Vidal realizes Ferrario is from the rebel side. Vidal hears noises from Carmen's room and goes to check. He catches Ophelia under the bed, tending to the root. Even though she tells him that the root is helping, he gets furious. Carmen requests him to leave her alone and throws the root into the fire. Soon after that, Carmen develops painful contractions. Meanwhile, Vidal sees the captive dead and questions the doctor. He then kills the doctor. In the next scene, Carmen dies after giving birth to Vidal's son. Vidal discovers Mercedes is a spy. She then tries to escape with Ophelia, but they get caught. Ophelia is mistaken as a traitor and gets locked in her room. Mercedes is asked questions but frees herself, stabs Vidal, and escapes. She gets rescued by her brother and his men. Late at night, the fawn comes back and gives Ophelia the last chance and tells her to obey him. He tells her to bring her brother to the labyrinth. Ophelia mixes sleeping medicine in Vidal's drink and takes her brother. But Vidal follows her to the labyrinth. The fawn, who was waiting at the labyrinth, tells Ophelia that she has to spill 1 drop of an innocent's blood to open the portal. But she refuses to harm her brother. As they argue, Vidal finds them, but he cannot see the fawn and he thinks Ophelia is talking to herself. As the fawn leaves after her refusal, Vidal takes the baby, and when Ophelia tries to stop him, he shoots her. Soon, Vidal is surrounded by the rebels and has no way to escape. He hands over the baby to Mercedes and asks her to tell his son the exact time he died. And Mercedes refuses and tells him that the boy will not even know his name. Pedro then kills him. Mercedes goes inside the labyrinth and finds an unconscious Ophelia, but she is breathing. She comforts her. Ophelia's blood drips down at the center of the stone statue. Suddenly, a light shines on her, and she hears someone telling her to rise up. She rises up to find herself in the kingdom in front of her father, who tells her that the last task was a test, and she passed by not spilling an innocent's blood. The fawn praises her, and the queen tells her to sit beside her father's side. The crowd starts cheering for her. Back in the labyrinth, Ophelia is seen smiling and dies in Mercedes' arms. The narrator tells us that the princess ruled her kingdom as a kind ruler for many centuries. She left behind traces of her time on Earth, which will only be visible to those who know where to look. That's it, guys. That's the movie Pan's Labyrinth. A very beautiful movie indeed. Do you know any other dark fantasy that will keep us engrossed? Let us know in the comments section. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you did, give us a like and share the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Till then, bye and take care.